final piece of this, and that is the art of the close. So up to this point, we discussed, the open, how you build that relationship, and then really using positioning tools. And now we're really going to come into the final piece of it, which is where we get into the close. Okay, coming into the close, super important. Obviously, this is where the sale happens, so it's really important that we do this right. And like I always say, if you've done the first three pieces of this in a really, really good way to where you're really connected, the close is easy. It's the easiest part. And why? Because it just makes sense to them. All right? Because to this point, we have done everything to support them up to this point, to make them really feel comfortable. We've built that relationship. We've positioned ourselves in the field as an expert. And now, when we tell them, it's time to do this. Okay? Notice the words I just used. We tell them. Okay? We don't ask. Don't ask somebody to do something. Okay? I always refer back to, so when I first started doing warm market approach, I have a very different approach when it comes to warm market, because I'm not somebody that believes in really selling to friends and family. I really more focus on building new warm market. And part of what I used to do a lot of meetup groups, and I would meet people at Starbucks and really talk to them just about business in general, entrepreneurship. And this is something that maybe can help some of you in your own business, what you're doing. But really talk about, entrepreneurship, differences between brick and mortars and internet-based businesses, pros and cons, yada, yada, yada. But here's the point, moral to this story is, at the end of that little discussion with people, I used to simply say, if you're interested in what, my wife and I are doing in our business, here's a 3x5 note card, fill it out. Go ahead and put your name, email address, and phone number, and I'll shoot you some more information on what we're doing in a couple of days. Okay, notice, I didn't ask, okay? And that's the key to the close. Don't ask, guide, okay? That's why this should be easy, because up to this point, you have really established everything that needs to be established on a sales call. Okay, and you shared whatever content was in the middle, all right? Whether it be, you shared some business content, if it was some specific traffic strategy or a business strategy in steps, whatever the case may be. We've gotten to this point now where we're going to take them to the next level, okay? And not every call is this way, of course, but when we're looking for, further sales in any company, most calls have an element of sales in them of some kind or another, because we should always be trying to grow the company that whether it's ours or it's somebody that we work for, okay? Or we're doing sales for them, okay? We should always be trying to grow their monetary value as a company. That's really important, because I would say it's safe to say that there's no company that wants to be a 401c. Most of them, no matter what, if you're in sales in some form or fashion, they want you to sell. Okay, that's pretty important. That's how companies grow. Okay, so don't ask them to do things. Okay, direct them to do things, because if you say, okay, the next, if you would say something like, all right, well, my thoughts are, I think that um, we should probably start looking at some first traffic. And what do you think about spending about $1,100 on traffic? You already set yourself up for failure. Okay. What you should say would be something like, okay, whatever the process is, it doesn't really matter. I'm just using traffic as an instance. Would be, so, hey, we have to really look at launching your business. And the best way to launch your business is to put enough money in up front to get you a start that can help get you a result. Okay, because we need to work towards a result. Okay, that result may not always be, unicorns and butterflies. That result can be good, it can be in the middle, and it can also be a complete failure. And they need to know that anyway. I share that with everybody that I work with, no matter what it is, whatever product, service, it doesn't matter. Okay, you should always share that. Okay, so don't ever position that like, okay, well, we need to get you started, and the bigger we can go into this, the bigger bang you have. Okay, don't position it that way. Position it the latter. Okay, so looking at it from that point of view, if you just make it make sense to them. Okay, make it make sense. Okay, make it make sense so they know it's the best option for them. Okay, and this is not hard to do. I mean, I would have to leap to say that anybody that's in any type of coaching program, or they're doing sales for somebody else, or even in their own business, whatever, it doesn't really matter. You know the product. Okay, so best options to get them where they're going. Okay, make that make sense. Okay, that's pretty simple to do. Okay, and then tell them what they need to do and the why. If they need to know the why, tell them the why. Make sure they understand what they're doing. Don't just say, here, this is what you need to do, give me your credit card number. All right, make sure they understand the why behind what they're doing. But if it makes sense to them from, a number standpoint, or whatever the case may be, they're more than likely to, want to invest with bigger numbers into their own business, because that's what they're doing at the end of the day. They're investing into their business, and that's what we want them to do. Invest in themselves and invest in their business. Okay, and you can leverage some basic statistics. Okay, for instance, there's basic statistics here that you can leverage. Okay, share those statistics. They're not all inclusive, but they are just a pin on the wall. All right. Don't leverage like non-typical stuff. Okay, we don't ever want to do that. But we do have some statistics that we can use. All right. And then I like to focus on the business side of things and talk about reinvestment cycles. Okay, because every business has them. All right, so you make this stuff make sense from a business standpoint, and the close is simple. All right, every company does a few things. Okay, this is no different than a brand new startup in a garage. All right, they do a couple of things. Number one, they invest in whatever product they have. Okay, they get a result from it. They reinvest it, and they scale. That's it. I mean, that's a very simple concept. Okay, And anybody that's new understands that concept because it's really simple. Okay. And using those real world examples really, really helps people. Okay. One of the real world examples I like to use is this. So you take a typical clothing store that started as very small. Let's say a clothing store started on the beach. It had one rack of clothes on it. Okay. One rack of clothes. They sold that rack of clothes, and they took that money and they reinvested that money into 2 racks of clothes. Okay. Sold those, reinvested into 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 racks, 10 racks, 12 racks, storefront, 1 store, 2 store, 3 stores. Now they're a franchise. Now they're $1 billion company. Okay. AKA Old Navy or whatever. Any store. Okay. The point is it's a statistic. Okay. They go through a cycle. Every business goes through that same cycle. For us, it's the same thing. Okay. No matter what the widget is. Okay. Reinvestment cycles are just typical in any business. All right. So that doesn't just have to be for traffic or any specific product. It's any product, period. Okay. Whether it's shoes, pants, clothes, traffic, business systems, it doesn't matter. Okay. Any systems online. All right. It's still going through that same process. Okay. No matter what. Okay. So it's important that you use some real world examples that people can really connect with. Okay. Why? Because most people we work with that start new businesses, they have no darn clue what they're doing. None whatsoever. And if we can always apply some real world examples to things, it just makes it make sense. It makes it make sense to them because now they can really conceptualize that in their head and go, oh, well, okay, well, sure. I understand how that works now that I look at it that way. All right. So it's important to do that because then we can very quickly make them realize that, oh, okay, so yeah, I got the clothing store example. And in this example, for me, maybe say it's traffic. So I need to buy traffic. So I can then in turn, I need to pay for advertising. I need to really get my business out there. Or even more, I need to brand. Okay? Brand. I need to brand myself, advertise, get myself out there and put my product out there and sell it. Put it out there, sell it. Take whatever I get from that, reinvest it back into an reinvestment cycle, and then scale over and over again. It's that simplistic. Okay, if you keep it that simple, people can really wrap their head around it. I've yet to have any client that could not wrap their head around that simple thing right there. Okay. Now, at the end of the day, depending on what process you're in, or what you're selling, or what area of sales you're in. At the end of the day, you're really filling that requirement, okay, with that need or that want. Okay, it doesn't matter really what the product is, because people buy product because of 2 things. They either need it or they want it. Okay, so we're filling that gap in that close. So when it comes to like very traditional closing, the the old closing used to be, kind of cheesy. And really, I don't think that stuff works anymore. That's the way they taught us, back in the day when I went through military recruitment school. And it was very cheesy, and we found most of it didn't work. Great school. I mean, it's really considered one of the best sales schools in the world. But it's application after the fact. Okay, any sales training in the world comes down to application, refinement of your own to connect in with yourself, and then you'll really, really be able to do that close. But at the end of the day, we're filling a requirement of what people need or what they want. Okay? You're just filling that gap, whether that's additional training, whether that's, in this case, mastermind sales or additional, mentorship sales or traffic or whatever. It's everything a good business owner's going to need anyway. Okay? So we're just giving them what they need anyway in the close. Okay? If you do this and you tie all of this in right from the beginning, and it's all explained through this process of this simple 4-step process here, the yes will just happen. Okay? You won't get a no. No won't exist. Now, is it always going to be this great, big, huge bang? No. Okay? But you won't get a solid no. Okay? And if you do, I always say this, no just means not now. Okay? Just because it means you got to know now doesn't mean you don't continue on that process on the next sales call that you have with them, and continue to build this same thing. The same sequence of events happens on every single call. Just add your content in the center of it, whatever that content is. Okay? When you get the yes, that's when you reinforce the decision. Okay? Reinforce that they made an awesome decision. Okay? And there again, high energy into that. Okay? Should be tons and tons and tons of energy put into reinforcing their decision. Okay? Not cheesy sales, used car sales guy energy. But just good energy, congratulate them for their decision. That's awesome. That's awesome that you're taking action in your business. Because guess what? Not everybody that I get to work with every day takes the kind of action that you do. And that tells me you're in it to win it. And you're not in it for it to be a hobby. You're in it to make yourself a long-term sustainable business. Okay? Which is what we're trying to help most people do in the first place. Okay? Is that right there. So push that high energy towards it. Reinforce their decision after the yes. And if you get a no, that's fine. Just work forward. Work forward on the next call. Don't push it here. Okay? Because if you push it on this call, on this close, you'll lose them forever. Okay? So just continue on the next call to work the same process through, add your content in the center, and reinforce the sale. You get the sale, reinforce the decision. It's praise them for their decision, so on and so forth. They'll feel really good about what they did. Less likely to get that buyer's remorse after spending $50K. All right, and they'll feel good and comfortable about it. All right. So that's the art of the close. So we covered, over these, four little modules per se. The art of the open, the art of the relationship, the art of positioning, and final here, the art of the close. I hope this was like super helpful for you. It's kind of the formula I've used and developed over the last couple of years to really increase my own ability. If you just take just a quarter of what I just covered and implement it, you'll see almost an instant change in the way you do things. Okay, so hope this was very helpful for all, and that concludes this training in total. And if you ever have questions, feel free to reach out, and best of luck. Sell, sell, sell.